Welcome to A Mugful of Marketing, your regular dose of brews and views from across the world of marketing. I'm Barnaby from 199 Agency, a marketing agency in Leeds, and this is...
I'm James. I'm Director of Digital at 199 and co-founder.
It's February 2024, and in this first edition... First edition of the podcast, we are focusing on two things, and how they kind of come together, really. It's TikTok and video.
Yeah, and the kind of... the wars that have been kind of called out between different platforms, all based around video as well.
So, on the list of news and updates for this month, we've got TikTok testing 30-minute video uploads. We're going to be discussing horizontal landscape video on TikTok. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about Universal pulling their music catalog from TikTok.
Yeah, not breaking news, but I think something that still should be impacting the kind of lay of the land.
Yeah, and outside of TikTok, we're also going to be talking about whether there's going to be a dedicated video tab on X, and then having a sort of wider discussion on hashtags in 2024.
Client's favourite question, and what hashtags should I be using? How many should I be using? And it's one that we'll get into at the end of this.
Or should I be using them at all?
Indeed.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I guess let's start with TikTok. So TikTok testing 30-minute uploads. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
So TikTok increasing the duration that you can upload on your TikTok account is nothing new. They started out, it was 10-second, 15-second videos. Now 10 minutes. There's been testing 15 minutes, 30 minutes now have been tested. So it's showing a sign of intent into longer form video content and prioritization of longer content. I think where this gets interesting is also a lot of the language that's coming out of TikTok at the moment is all about storytelling. Features in all of their official documents. Representatives at TikTok have been kind of banging on about storytelling and how they're kind of no longer really valuing the kind of content that I suppose a lot of people that don't use TikTok think of when they think of the platform. Mm-hmm. The kind of dancing videos and the lip syncing and all of these.
The throwaway sort of trash content.
They allegedly now are seeing this as low value content.
Okay.
And it's all about storytelling, and seemingly they're wanting to kind of push the duration of that people are engaged on the platform as well.
So how can people take advantage of this?
So I don't think people need to wait until they get hold of these features. Some of these features won't ever become available on platforms that they test. They test things all the time that never actually happen. But the lesson that we can take from it is that you should be trying to figure out how you can make a strategy for longer form content on your own channel. How can you tell stories that engage people and bring them along? That doesn't need to be origin stories. We hear a lot of origin stories in marketing, and it's tedious.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we had a pound for every time we went to a conference and someone spent half an hour telling us about how they form their agency, we wouldn't be clients.
No, that's fine, wouldn't it?
But it's about bringing people along for the ride and how you can kind of bring them into the fold of what you're doing, but also in a way that is on brand.
So something a bit more in depth. Is this part of kind of a wider trend to, when you think of TikTok, you do think of that super short kind of recyclable sort of throwaway content, I guess. But at the same time, in things like podcasting, what's the most popular podcast in the world? It's Joe Rogan, and he's doing 3-4 hours on a topic.
Yeah, very long. You need breaks in that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think long form content never really went anywhere. That's the other thing is I know there's a huge explosion in short form content with TikTok, Reels, stories, all of these kind of 15-second, 30-second snippets of attention. But if you think about it, YouTube's always been there and it's not gone away, and longer form video content has remained popular. Now, I think it's more about some of these other platforms that have done really well in shorter form content now also deciding that they want a piece of the pie of some of the attention spans of that long form content brings.
So it's a reverse of the trend of the last couple of years, where all the long form content platforms tried to emulate the shorter form ones. Now TikTok's going after a piece of their pie instead.
Exactly. And I think that actually leads us into one of the other pieces of news as well.
Absolutely. So the second piece of news we've got is the fact that TikTok is now offering an incentive to encourage users to engage with horizontal format content.
So anyone that uses TikTok regularly will know that the horizontal videos aren't new. You've seen lots of people that upload them, black borders, have put them in there. It was only a few months ago that they rolled out the wider ability to essentially flip the videos and watch them on the side on your phone. Now, they are actually actively encouraging people to do that. It always used to feel like it was something they tolerated but never really wanted on the platform. But now they've incentivized it by saying that some videos, not all, some videos that are over a minute long and they are wider than they are tall.
Is that that's the classification for horizontal? Anything that's wider than it is tall?
That and high value has the potential to be considered for a kind of back-end boost over the first 72 hours of publication.
So this is a bit of a switch. I mean, the amount of times I've heard in this office one-to-one.
Yeah.
On its square.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's
square,
big
or vertical, those have been the big things. And I think, we've spent a lot of time reconditioning clients and everyone into kind of thinking vertical first, mobile, everything else. But this might not be a long-term thing, but it's something that is worth considering in the strategy. If you can get short-term boosts to your content via doing something that is landscape, try it. See if you get any benefits from it. It won't be around forever, this kind of incentive, because they'll prioritize other things soon. There's another form of content that they've been kind of pushing a lot recently as well, is storytelling in carousels on images. But a lot of it does loop back to this kind of rebranding of them wanting to be seen as storytelling rather than kind of...
Because, when I think of horizontal, the first thing you think of is bigger screens. You think of, are they coming for YouTube on your television now?
Smart TVs are in every household, or more or less, so I think it's a space where they want to make sure that they have a stake and that they're at the table. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a move that they made. There's been no official kind of declaration that they're moving into smart TV, widescreen, but it's not a big jump from there if this is something that they wanted to do more of.
So to me, it feels like part of the wider trend of all of the platforms to go to trying to be the one platform, the all-in-one platform.
Yeah.
They're all, where one platform leads, the others will follow.
Unless you're Twitter.
Well, you say that, and yet what we're about to talk about
That's true.
is video content on X.
Yeah, well, Elon has made no secret of the fact that he wants to prioritize video. He's even gone as far as saying he sees it as a video-first platform now, which I don't think any of the users see it as yet, but it's all about signs of intent when companies do this. It means that certain types of content get prioritized more than others. So can you get short-term wins, even if this isn't a long-term strategy that proves fruitful for a platform like Twitter or X?
Yeah, I mean, the sort of Elon nailed his colours to the mast as being different from the other platforms, more an ideology than features. This is the free speech platform, I guess. But in terms of functionality, he needs to be following.
And video content ultimately creates a much more profitable potential on a platform, because you can kind of bring a lot of high quality creators over.
Mr. Beast,
exactly. So he's actively gone after big YouTube influencers to try and make it more thought of as a video platform.
Sounds like YouTube's got sort of attacks from every direction.
Yeah, but that's because it's been around for so long and it's Google, it's, the beast of all kind of like areas of the internet, isn't it? And they just have thumbs and pies and everything. And I think everyone just wants to make sure that they can try and capitalize on some of those successes and bring it to their own social media platforms. So yeah, will we see a video tab on Twitter or X? I don't know. All I can say is that video content is being prioritized there more.
Yeah.
So make sure that you are putting out video content on Twitter if you're still active there.
Yeah. Okay, great. So moving away from video and TikTok, and we're going to have a kind of wider discussion on hashtags in 2024. We'll start with it on maybe a platform that's more of interest to me and my clients. Do hashtags belong on LinkedIn? And what's the relevance of hashtags in general?
So you'll get a real mixed bag of answers. You could sit 10 marketing people down from different backgrounds and get different answers for this. So we can go off our own experience and the latest research on different platforms. I think there's been a trend in moving away from the reliance on hashtags for discoverability. And that comes with the kind of improvement of algorithms and how they actually find content. So the identifying markers now on platforms do tend to be more descriptions and search terms within captions. Or on things like TikTok, for instance, it actually searches via overlay text that's within videos to help kind of create the categories that when people look for content, it brings videos up that way. So allegedly, hashtags still work, but people just aren't using them in the same way anymore. They don't follow hashtags in the same way for their content because the algorithm has got better at presenting you with the content you want to see more of.
Yeah. I mean, from my own sort of personal experimentation on LinkedIn, I haven't found a great boost in discovery from using hashtags. And actually, if I'm searching for anything on X or on any other platform, I tend not to search by hashtag anymore.
But then it will have that place for real-time event following on to, if there's a sports event or something like that and you want to join conversations.
Yeah.
So hashtags are far from dead, but I just don't think we're in a world where we need 20 of them on posts.
Okay, so in terms of continuing to bother with hashtags on LinkedIn,
pick a couple of core hashtags.
Okay.
And don't get too carried away with it. I think you get to a point where if you add too many, it actually negatively impacts your content.
The algorithm thinks you're just trying to spam and get a discovery function.
And also, if it does get served in all of those different themes, if it's not relevant enough, then your relevancy score is going to go down.
Okay.
So that'll negatively impact it.
So use them sparingly and carefully.
Yeah, just pick out the core topics, I think, so that you enter and join relevant conversations. Don't just go for the big kind of, featured, if you go too big, then the relevancy will be too low.
Okay. I forgot that we were going to cover, go back to TikTok, Universal pulling their catalogue from TikTok. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so, there's been a lot of negotiations between Universal and TikTok on payment, essentially, of licensing.
Comes down to money, yeah.
And, without getting into all of the details of what their complaints are about it, ultimately it's led to them pulling their catalogue off TikTok. So naturally, we get a lot of questions about, is it a space that they should be, musicians and labels and people like that should still be spending time on? Is the clock now ticking to it, being dead, essentially? Our take on it is actually it's an opportunity in many respects. There's so much money there to be made for both parties that you would think at some point they'll resolve their differences. And in the meantime, it's an opportunity for independent artists or artists releasing on other labels, like the music.
To get their stuff heard. Yeah.
Exactly.
You've just made it's become the marketplace has got smaller for
Universal are responsible for a huge percentage of music and listens and kind of all of a sudden that not being available, like Taylor Swift, Drake, people like this no longer being on that platform.
I mean, Taylor Swift, I can't remember the stats on it, but the percentage of streams...
Like 1 in 10.
Yeah, 1 in 20 views or something.
Yeah, exactly.
She's huge.
So yeah, it's an opportunity for independent artists now that they're not there, because people still need music for their videos and their content. So yeah,
I mean, it brings on a kind of wider point about trying to second guess the platforms. We always have clients asking us like, Do you remember when Elon was alienating the liberals and decide, everyone said, "Oh, we're going to go to Mastodon.
Yeah,
we're going to go to Threads."
Yeah.
And you get clients saying, "Quick, we need to build on Mastodon." And then I can't remember the last time I heard the word Mastodon.
No, but this is the thing. They don't all take off, do they?
No.
Like our stance has always been make sure that you get on there and come secure your handles and get a presence,
get a foundation,
and see how it progresses. And I think you have to. Some of them take off and some of them don't, and more of them don't than do. But it's fair to say that TikTok isn't new, so I think you can't really second guess the politics that are going to go into whether or not it's going to get banned by certain countries or anything like that. In the meantime, what you do have is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of politics going on, and as Warren Buffett or someone said, when there's blood on the streets, you buy.
Nice. So, is that what we're saying?
Yeah. Exactly. If there's kind of things like going on with certain people removing their music, you putting yours on there is essentially an opportunity.
Well, it's not like the audience has fallen, is it? That's the other side of it. And you can only... The social media landscape changes so fast that you've constantly got to adapt anyway. That trying to predict what's going to happen next is quite futile sometimes. And, we've got half the world's voting this year, and, God knows what's going to happen if to TikTok. If, the West decides to ramp up kind of things with China, then it could get taken down. But at the same time, it could not.
In the meantime,
just stay on TikTok.
Find a way to use it for sure.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. And if you want to know more about any of the stories we've mentioned, you'll find them in the episode notes. Like and subscribe and join us next time on A Mugful of Marketing for updates, insights, and discussion about the world of marketing.
See ya.